Okay, we're good to go.
Okay. I hereby call our Thursday, August 5th meeting to order for the Parks Commission, San Mateo County. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I guess we need a roll call to make sure that we are all here.
Yes, sir. Sure. Commissioner Laguna?
Here.
Commissioner Okello?
Present.
Commissioner Mane?
Present.
Chair Merlis?
Here.
And Commissioner Green is absent. Okay, we're all set.
Okay, so now we have time to ask for public comment if there's anybody who'd like to speak about something that's not on the agenda tonight.
Sure. So let me start off by saying, for those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raised hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public comment period, and for each item on the regular agenda, I'll ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raised hand feature to raise your hand or to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. Please note that the members of the public must wait for my prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raised hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand at the beginning of the meeting for an item that's later in the meeting. When you hear your name called, I'll prompt you to unmute your mic and begin talking. And it looks like we have 2 people with their hand raised. I will call on Mr. Ron Snow first, followed by Jim Sullivan. Hold on just a second while I put up my timer. Okay, Mr. Snow, please unmute your mic and begin speaking. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ron Snow. I live in Menlo Park. I apologize for my connection here. I'm actually in Big Sur, which has very little internet. So I'll make this real quick. There's an opportunity that I think county can create that would allow for the use of Flood Park Elementary School, which is now abandoned and demolished, to be added for use to the Flood Park area. This is a unique opportunity because there isn't such many opportunities within county, especially in this section of the county, to add to the park system. And so either that opportunity is pursued as an acquisition or a lease or a cooperative investment with Menlo Park, which I think owns the property. Somehow, it would be worth pursuing, making an active pursuing to get an opportunity to add that to the park. So I'd like somebody to get back to me on that and see what's involved with making that happen. And hopefully you were able to hear me okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. We were able to hear you fine. So next I will call on Jim Sullivan. Jim Sullivan, please accept this invitation and unmute your mic to speak.
There we go. There we go. Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'd like to invite the Parks Board to join with the Pacifica Historical Society, Pacifica Parks and Beaches Recreation Department, the GGNRA, to attend a November 6th trail naming ceremony at the Gene Fassler parking lot, which Don Horsley was wonderful in soliciting and obtaining the funds to have constructed there at Cattle Hill in Pacifica. I'll place the information. Is there Is there a sidebar I can put the information in, a link, or if there is, just let me know after I finish my 2 minutes, please. The name of the trail, it was previously unnamed, is Ani, and Ani is a Ramaytush language term that means rock. And it will connect to the Bacchiano Trail within the GGNRA. And we're very excited about having it named, and the hike. And actually, it'll be you can bring your dogs. It's on leash dog walking all the way up through Sweeney. And some folks even ride bicycles. GGNRA in the past has provided a shuttle from the San Bruno side. So those with special needs would love to hear from you. Would love to accommodate that. So that'll be November 6th, 9 a.m. at the Gene Fassler parking lot, which is at the top of Fassler Avenue in Pacifica. And that'll be November 6th. So we conducted a survey. We had 420 responses, and 80% of them went with Ani Trail as the favored name. So that's how we came to that conclusion. And the City of Pacifica Open Space and Parklands Committee also was involved in this. So thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you so much. So we don't have the sidebar activated, but you can submit your information to parksandrecreation@smcgov.org.
Great. Thank you, Jeanette.
So next we will call on Bill Giusti. Bill, please accept this invitation, unmute your mic and begin speaking. Let's see. Hold on just a second. It's not letting me. Hold on one moment. There he is. Mr. Giusti?
Yes, at this time, we decided not to comment. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Thanks. Okay, next we will call on, let me see, I think it's Kim O'Grady, or hold on just a second. Unmute your microphone and begin speaking, please.
Hi, my name is Kit O'Doherty. I live in Half Moon Bay. This is more a question than a comment. I am working right now. So would it be possible to comment and jump off? Can I express my full support for off-leash dog areas in San Mateo County parks now and then concur with all the concerns raised by Coastside Dog? Or does that need to come later, in which case I'll just leave that at my comment?
I think we know what you're saying, and we'll move on to something that's not on the agenda if there are any more comments.
Excellent, thank you. I do need.
Sorry, I cut her off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's the only hand I have raised for public comment at this point.
Okay. Then the next item is item 4. Setting our agenda. Does anybody have any objections to the agenda or want to change the agenda, or do we have a motion to set the agenda?
I'd make that motion to set the agenda as is.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Do we need a roll call? I guess we need a roll call.
Yes. Yes, we do. Commissioner Laguna?
Aye.
Commissioner Okello?
Yes.
Commissioner Mane?
Yes.
Chair Merlis?
Yes.
Commissioner Green is absent. Thank you.
Okay, we have an agenda, and now we're ready for our Parks Director's report. Nicholas?
I actually believe that's Parks Foundation.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. Do we have
Parks
a
Foundation
report?
Janet, I see Michelle Beasley is listed among the attendees.
She's muted, I guess.
No, I just got able to join all of you. Hey everyone, Michelle Beasley, Executive Director for the San Mateo County Parks Foundation. Thank you for this opportunity to present to all of you. I just have a couple updates. First, the San Mateo County Parks Foundation has our first ever Parks Pick photo contest that's been going on this summer, and it wraps up on August 15th. So, you know, if you have an opportunity to take some pictures in a San Mateo County Park this summer and would like to be a part of our contest, please submit your pictures by then. Through this contest, we had the opportunity to meet with a young leader in our community, and we just posted her perspective on our website. She will be entering the 9th grade this fall. Charlotte Rosario has the community photo booth and is doing a fundraiser for San Mateo County Parks. So we encourage you to check that out. Parks Foundation started our fiscal year off with a couple of gifts to support the Parks Department. We have renewed the Outer Spatial app license. If you have a smartphone, you can download this app and get the latest, hopefully the latest information on San Mateo County Park openings and closings and events and so forth. So it's an app that gives the Parks Department control over what is presented. And we've also contributed some funding to support the volunteer program and Stu Smith and all the wonderful work he does, in particular a plogging pilot. And if you're unfamiliar with plogging, it basically is a combination of jogging and picking up litter as you go along. So stay tuned for a pilot coming soon to the county park. The Parks Foundation had a wonderful opportunity to table at the first movie night at Coyote Point this summer. It was just this past Saturday at Coyote Point, and the film was Raya and the Last Dragon, and it was a really lovely evening with a wonderful crowd, all socially distanced. And there are going to be 3 more of these this summer, the last Saturday of the month through October. And the Parks Foundation is bringing back Kenny Elvin, Master Falconer, who we had the privilege of bringing up to Coyote Point 2 years ago, and he will be coming back to Coyote Point on August 19th. We have just a limited number of tickets, so if you want to come, please reserve your spot on Eventbrite. We look forward to seeing Kenny with his Birds of Prey come out in a couple of weeks. And the final thing I just wanted to mention, this is just to piggyback on a comment that I believe Chair Marilees brought up at the end of the June Parks Commission meeting regarding land acknowledgements. And I just wanted to give a shout out to the San Mateo County Parks Department, which has a really nice land acknowledgement on their website. And the Parks Foundation is working to craft one ourselves. So stay tuned for more of that. And that's my update. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks.
Anybody have any questions for Michelle? No, then thank you very much, Michelle. Yeah, look forward to seeing your land acknowledgement on the website. That'll be great. Okay, now we're ready for our Parks Director's report.
Yeah, Chair Marilees, I'm actually going to forego a director's report today. I have a lengthy PowerPoint presentation for the next item, and I see that there's several people online likely to want to comment on that, so I want to make sure we have sufficient time to discuss that item.
Okay, good, then it's time to go to our regular agenda. I have a feeling that there will be a lot of people that want to comment on this, so we're going to start off with a shortened speaking period. We're going to try and keep the comments to 1 minute, just because we have a limited meeting time and we might have a lot of commenters. So try and keep your comments short, and let us know right at the beginning if you're supportive of the Sequa review, or if you have questions about it, or if yeah, let us know, and then tell us why, and let's try to keep it to one minute if possible. And so we'll start with your presentation, Nicholas. Is that right?
Yes, Chair Marilees, that's correct. And Janet, you'll be able to staff the clock on that. Is that correct?
Yes, for sure, for 1 minute each. Yeah. I have your presentation or your slides. Let me know when you need that up. the ones you sent earlier.
Okay, I can go ahead and, actually, I'll go ahead and control the slides.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, though.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Share my screen here. And Chair Marilyn, maybe you can confirm for me that you can see my PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, it's coming up. on the-
Presentation mode?
Fine.
Perfect. For the commissioners and public, today we'll be discussing the off-leash dog recreation pilot program's initial study and mitigated negative declaration. So you will recall that prior to 2019, the San Mateo County Ordinance Code prohibited all forms of dog recreation in San Mateo County parks. And after a multi-year effort that included a dog committee that was comprised of community members, as well as representatives from the dog owner, environmentalist, equestrian, and mountain bike community, the department developed a series of ordinance amendments that it had presented to the Board of Supervisors for consideration. And the board had, at the end of 2019, early 2020, had adopted those ordinance recommendations to allow on-leash dog recreation to occur in parks that were designated for such uses. And to be clear, what this effort was a way to ensure that the county ordinance code reflected the way that some of the parks had been being used. For example, the Coastal Trail and the Bay Trail have historically been accessible to on-leash dogs, and we were allowing such uses on our segments, but our ordinance code did not reflect that. So we wanted to make sure that we were being consistent. During that meeting, the board gave the department two directives. The first was to develop a pilot program that expanded on-leash access, and the second was to develop a recommendation for an off-leash dog recreation pilot program. And to assist with this process, the department created the San Mateo County Parks Dog Work Group, which was comprised of 2 parks commissioners, 3 park rangers, representatives of the Mid-Coast Community Council, Pescadero Municipal Advisory Council, conservation community, the mountain bike community, the dog owner community, the equestrian community. And so after discussing this topic and holding public meetings for over a year, that work group both satisfied both of those recommendations. So they developed a on-leash pilot program opportunity that expanded where dogs were allowed in Coyote Point, and that allowed dogs to be on leash at Unipro Serra Park. And then it also came up with a recommendation for an off-leash pilot program. And so what the work group determined was that off-leash dog recreation should be piloted at both Pillar Point Bluff and Quarry Park for 12 months. And the trails that would be accessible to off-leash dog recreation are shown on these maps in green. And the trails that would continue to be on-leash recreation based are shown in orange. And the reason that some trails were meant to be off-leash access and other trails were meant to be on-leash access was based on a variety of factors, including trail size, proximity to sensitive resources, and just and known, in some cases, known wildlife species in proximity. So the work group had developed these maps, and to safely and appropriately launch a pilot program at both these parks, the work group also came up with a set of recommendations that they thought would allow for that type of use. And so that recommendation included making sure that dogs were on voice and sight, under voice and sight control, to make sure that dogs remained on designated trails within view and earshot, and no more than 25 feet away from handler, and that dogs must be on leash in developed areas. And you can see that the recommendation was really based on how to keep both dogs and their owners and other park users safe while also protecting natural resources. And so that's what the work group management policies were designed to accomplish. Using the work group's recommendation as a guide, the department developed its own recommendation. So the process was always set up for the work group to come up with a recommendation for the department, and the department would come up with a recommendation for the Board of Supervisors. So using the work group's recommendation, the department developed its own. And what you will notice is that by and large, the department's recommendation and the work group's recommendation are extremely similar, with really just minor, what the department would consider minor modifications. So first you will see here the trails that the department also recommends off-leash dog recreation is piloted at Pillar Point Bluff and Quarry Park for 12 months. And you will see here that by and large, the trails are similar. At Quarry Park, we've actually recommended that more trails be open to off-leash dog recreation. And this is because the department and CAL FIRE had conducted some fire fuel reduction efforts that widened trails, and those trails really became safe for off-leash recreation base. And at Pillar Point Bluff, you'll see that Ross's Cove Trail between point 14 and 18 is now recommended to be on leash. And the reason for that is at point 17 on that map, there is a formal path down to Ross's Cove, and the department feels that keeping dogs on leash in this area is what is safest for marine life as well as natural resources in this area. So there's one of the main changes or differences between the two. Now you'll see the department also developed a series of management policies that, again, closely align with what the work group had recommended. The highlights that you'll see before you are the changes, and you will see that really on this slide, changes are more clarifying than substantive. And on this slide, you'll see again that with an exception of point 6, still clarifying and not substantive. Point number 6 is where the department's management policies and the work group's recommendation differ. And the department believes that owners or handlers should have physical control of their dogs when approaching or being approached by park users not engaging in off-leash recreation. And what's important to specify or clarify here is that the department, while examining how to expand dog recreation and in this case, introduce off-leash recreation or legalized off-leash recreation at these parks, we also want to make sure that both of these parks continue to be a place where people with dogs and without dogs feel welcome and want to recreate at. And we believe that this will allow us to accomplish that. This is a series of evaluation criteria that both the work group and the department adopted, and both the work group and the department felt that it was extremely important to have a way of monitoring the impacts of the pilot program and to understand what, if any, impacts were being created. And we'll discuss this slide later in the presentation, but these evaluation criteria were used as the foundation for what was then turned into the adaptive management plan, which we'll discuss here shortly. So the commission, this will sound familiar for the commission and some of those in the public who attended the February 2020 Parks Commission meeting. And at that meeting, the Parks Commission was presented with the department's recommendation and the work group's recommendation, and voted that the department should present both recommendations to the Board of Supervisors for consideration and allow the Board of Supervisors to determine if they would like to proceed with one of those pilot programs, and if so, which one. At the time, I stated that we were going to need to satisfy the California Environmental Quality Act, or Sequa, and conduct a review consistent with the act. And so to do so, we created, we hired a contractor, WRA, who's with us today, and they drafted a dog recreation white paper that reviewed the literature out there regarding the impacts that dog recreation can have on open space and natural environment. They use that as a way to help inform the initial study and then the mitigated negative declaration, along with other desktop review and biological resource assessment and site visits. And then as part of that ISMND, there was an adaptive management plan. And the adaptive management plan has been drafted to help ensure that any impacts to the environment or users is mitigated to the greatest extent possible. Once the Sequa document goes through its 30-day public review comment period, it will be presented to the Board of Supervisors for consideration and certification, or consideration of certification. And should the Board of Supervisors decide that they want to certify the EIR, the mitigated neg deck, and approve the management policies, which would be used to draft ordinance amendments, the pilot program would move to the next step, which is the coastal development permit phase. So we will go to the Planning Commission, San Mateo County Planning Commission, and ask for consideration of a coastal development permit. If a coastal development permit is issued, then the pilot program would be implemented, and we'll talk about a schedule at the end of this presentation. So I mentioned that our consultants prepared a dog recreation white paper, and there are a lot of facts and misconceptions out there regarding dog recreation and its impact on the environment. And to make sure that we were as informed as possible, that our Sequa process was informed, and that the department had as much information as we could on hand and available, our consultants prepared the document by, as I said, reviewing and summarizing research literature on the topic. They looked at multiple articles from a literature review of recreation impacts to natural resources prepared by the Portland Metro Parks. They looked at articles in the California Fish and Wildlife Journal, special issue on the effects of non-consumptive recreation on wildlife in California. And then they looked at other studies that were not discussed in those two sources. And what was found was that while off-leash dogs can increase the radius that human recreational influence has over the absence of a dog, the reality is human recreation still has an impact, and what is the difference between the two is really something that is not able to be quantified. And so we needed to understand that while dogs and humans it can have an impact, there's also research that indicates that dogs traveling along trails with certain types of screen vegetation are going to have little to no impacts. And so what we were able to determine really is that there's still more research that needs to be done in this field. But what we found was that if we can properly manage the pilot program and put an appropriate monitoring program in place, that we are confident that we'll be able to mitigate any environmental impacts that may occur. So using that, we developed the initial study in the mitigated negative declaration. And the purpose of that was to evaluate the potential environmental impacts associated with the proposed amendments to the ordinance and the ancillary uses, as well as the adaptive management plan. And the Sequa document determined that most impacts were going to be less than significant, and the 8 impacts, and there are 8 impacts that will be less than significant after mitigation measures are implemented. No impacts were identified as potentially significant, and therefore our mitigated negative declaration has, in our opinion, satisfied the Sequa review, and an EIR would not be required. The impacts that were identified can really be broken into 4 categories, and it's historical resources, archaeological resources, human remains, and noise levels. And so when we reviewed in accordance with Sequa, what we found is that as with any park in San Mateo County, really, there's a rich history of historical resources and archaeological resources, And so we need to be aware of that. And we've identified a series of mitigation measures that would be implemented should any historical resources be identified during the course of the pilot program, or archaeological resources, but also noise levels. And so we want to make sure that we are identifying where possible impacts can be and how to lessen the impacts of those. And so,
Hey, Director Calderon, real quick, I just want a clarification. I'm not going to make a comment or anything, but I'm assuming that because I did see the check boxes that was like less than significant with mitigation. So what you're saying is for the water quality and for the wildlife impact, the mitigation strategy is going to be monitoring, right? As opposed to these other ones that had specific additional mitigations. Is that fair?
So I believe the measure you're referring to was let me find it right here. So you're talking about, I believe you're talking about 18.8, which says, does the project have the potential to degrade various things that includes, and then it ends by saying, or eliminate important examples of major periods of California history or prehistory. So that's where we found that there could be a possible impact that requires mitigation. So for each of the 8 areas that we identified and need to implement mitigation, that's covered by our mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because looking at the end, and I know it was like nearly a 200-page packet that you put together last time, but in trying to like sort through it, I did notice that there were certain boxes that had the less than significant with mitigation incorporated, right? And I noticed that when we were talking about things like the archaeological resources, the remains, the historical pieces, there was actually a table at the end that had some of the specific things. But specifically for the water, the potential for water impact, and then for the wildlife, I'm assuming that the main mitigation is going to be consistent monitoring, as opposed to a process like you put together for some of these other mitigation measures. Is that right?
Yeah, Commissioner.
I just wanted to double check.
I'll have John Boss, who's our consultant, speak to that again.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry, I don't mean to derail. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that.
Yeah, no.
This is John Boss. I can respond. So there's 2 ways that water quality will be monitored. One is through what is in the adaptive management plan, but then there's also an additional overlay of protections that are required by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. Some of that's been roped into the adaptive management plan, but basically we're going to follow whatever laws or policies the regional board has set forth, but then we have some additional specific monitoring criteria regarding fecal coliform bacteria levels, if you will, in the water that we're going to follow as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. But as far as mitigation measures identified in the ISMND, we really have 3, 2 based on cultural resources and 1 based on noise. The adaptive management plan is something that we believe is critical to the pilot program. And again, it's based on the evaluation criteria that was adopted by the work group and the department. And we essentially worked to evolve that into the adaptive management plan. And we use 8 metrics. Which I'll discuss on the next slide, to monitor both ordinance compliance and any environmental impacts that may occur. A couple things that I've heard since we released the document. First, the department's natural resource management division will be responsible for essentially implementing the adaptive management plan and the monitoring component of it. So our natural resource management team has already started conducting monitoring, so we can have baseline data to compare the pilot program to. And then once the pilot program is launched, assuming that the ISMND gets certified, we receive a coastal development permit, the board approves it, and a program is launched, the Natural Resource Management Division will continue to monitor in the same way that they are now, and we will be able to compare pre-pilot program data against during pilot program data. In the adaptive management plan, we do mention that there's a chance we will have to use volunteers. That is certainly not the preferred route. That's something that we certainly want to reserve the ability to do. But our preference first and foremost is that we use Parks Department Natural Resource Management staff. If we are going to have to use volunteers, we're going to go out and we're going to work with an entity like San Francisco State's master's program in Parks and Recreation, or we will work with a scout group. We will work with volunteers that will be able to be neutral and unbiased on their monitoring to make sure that the monitoring does not jeopardize the integrity of the pilot program. That's something that we're very sensitive to. But again, the preference first and foremost is that we're doing this with park staff, and we're confident that at least at the time being, we're going to be able to do that. As the data is collected, it will be posted to the department's website. So we will do that so we can be as transparent as possible. We are working to compile all the pre-pilot program data that we have right now, and that will go up on the website before the pilot program has a chance to even be launched. So we will make sure that we're sharing that information as we go along. And as we take this document through its process, we'll make sure that that data is accompanying the process or the document. So it is important that we are collecting data and that we're sharing that data and that we're being transparent as to what we're observing. So I talked about the 8 indicators, and here they are. It's presence of dog waste, fecal coliform levels, harassment of wildlife, dog entry. You can certainly see it. And each indicator has a corresponding standard. So for example, presence of dog waste, the standard would be 20 pieces of dog waste in a month. And to be clear, all indicators and standards are on a per park basis, not a cumulative, meaning we're not going to take what we find at Quarry Park and what we find at Pillar Point and Adam. They are separate. So so dog waste, the standard is no more than 20 pieces of dog waste per month. For fecal coliform levels, we use the Regional Water Quality Control Board levels, their E. coli standards. And so we're not to exceed that. And we will be collecting water samples hopefully before the pilot program launches. That's a bit harder given that we don't have any rain and we need rain in order to collect the water samples. So as soon as we are given an opportunity to do that, we will. And we are actually working with the San Mateo RCD to conduct that water quality testing. So we've worked with the RCD to identify testing locations, appropriate testing locations at each park, and they will go out and they will collect the sample. They will send it to the lab will process it, provide it to RCD. RCD will provide it to us. We will publicly share that information. Harassment of wildlife. And what we're monitoring here is the reported number of verifiable cases of dogs harassing wildlife. So we need to understand if dogs are chasing wildlife or not. And we need to be able to monitor that, not just through our natural resource management staff and not just through our field staff. But again, we know that there will be times where people will see something, and if it's a verifiable report, then we will need to account for that. I want to be clear though, a verifiable report is not just a phone call saying, well, I saw this going on, I want it counted. That's not a verifiable report. If you have photos, videos, that will help determine whether we're going to be able to make that a verifiable report. And typically these days, everyone has their phone on them at all times, able to take pictures, able to take videos on their phone. So, it is important for the integrity of the pilot program and the adaptive management plan that only verifiable information is accounted for. Dogs entering into sensitive areas, there should be no dogs in, excuse me, there should be no dogs in sensitive areas. We're going to have sensitive areas signed. We're going to have fencing where necessary, and we're going to be monitoring that through various means, including our monitors and when possible, cameras. And then dogs traveling off trail. One of the questions we get all the time on this is, so if my dog steps off trail, you're going to give me a citation. we've created essentially a 10-foot buffer. So if your dog steps off trail, if your dog goes a foot off trail, that's not what we're talking about. If your dog is running uncontrolled 30 feet off trail, that's what we're talking about. And so that's what the type of behavior we'll be looking for, but the standard is 10 feet. And then leash compliance is 70%. So 70% of people hiking or recreating with their dogs are complying with the leash rules when they're on trails that require leashes. And we will certainly have adequate signage and noticing to make sure that people are aware when they are and are not on those trails. And then interactions between other visitors and dogs, we're using 10 cases per month. So what this means is your dog runs up to someone who is not inviting them, is not welcoming them, and is jumping on that person. We're saying 10 per month. Now, as a dog owner, I know that what we're asking for here is really nothing more than common courtesy rules that all dog owners should be following, right? I mean, it's kind of rule number one when you go out with your dog to make sure you're picking up after your dog's waste. It's rule also, that's rule 1A. Rule 1B is you don't let your dog jump on people who they don't know or who hasn't welcomed them. That's not only a safety issue, but that's also something that will lead to our parks not being welcoming to everyone. And so that would be a problem. Excuse me. The only indicator that doesn't have a standard is number 8. And that is something that we're not saying there are thresholds. We're not saying anything. We're just monitoring what type of change are we seeing in our visitors and our visitor use data as a result of the pilot program. And what I mean by that is if before the pilot program launches, we see 500 people using those parks, each park every week, and I'm making all these numbers up, they're just for example purposes, and 250 have dogs and 250 don't, meaning it's a 50-50 split. And then after the pilot program launches, we end up seeing go up to 800 per park per week, and 700 have dogs and 100 don't. That's an observation that we want to make sure we're recording and we're making sure that our board is aware of. What that means is fewer people without dogs are wanting to use those parks and more people with dogs are. And so that's something that frankly just needs to be monitored and understood and reported to the board. So as I stated at the beginning, we want our parks to continue to be welcoming to everyone. We want Point and Quarry Parks to continue to be welcoming to everyone. You have a dog or you don't have a dog. And so we want to make Commissioner Monet, do you have a question?
So here's the thing, everything has always been about the brand. And what I mean by that is we want to be a welcoming commission, not only from the standpoint of we're in San Mateo County, but that we are a sort of a universal, we have such beautiful parks that we don't want to ruin the name of Parks Foundation and Parks Commission and the parks in general, because we swayed away from not having, dogs in certain parks. Then the word will get out, oh, don't visit San Mateo County parks. They're not pet friendly. They're not this, they're not that. And, on some of the parks that in my district of 5 and even other neighborhoods, not in 5, San Andreas to be specific, I've seen some folks with dogs, and that is a park that is prohibited. And some have, timelessly been there. And I've kind of reminded them, hey, you're not have dogs here. Oh, we're not. But I mean, remember 18 months ago, right before when we met at the captain's house, it was a bit of a hostile, sticky, rather unpleasant meeting because you had everyone throwing buckets and buckets of paint, at the podium, not really, but that's kind of what it felt like. You had a lot of folks from the public gang up on the commissioners and the director's report. And so, we want to be that welcoming commission. We want to be that sort of that gateway to welcoming those with pets,
Yeah, Commissioner, I hear what you're saying. Certainly, would we be able to have at kind of during the commissioner comments at the end? I just have 2 more slides.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you. So what this is data collection reporting process that we're going to go through. I've gotten a lot of questions as to how this is going to work. So what you'll see is we're going to do a quarter worth of data collection. So we'll do data collection for 3 months. We're going to take that information and we're going to say, is the pilot program meeting the standards, yes or no? If it is, we move on to quarter 2 for data collection. If it is not, then what we will do is as we publish the data, we will publish a notice saying that these are the areas, these are the indicators that didn't meet the standard. We will work to push information out to the public. For example, if it's dog waste, then we'll work to have those conversations with park users. We'll see if there's a solution that can be, if we're seeing a lot of dog waste in one area, maybe we need to add a trash receptacle there. We'll need to evaluate what that is. But as we go on to quarter 2 and we measure if all the indicators are meeting their standards, we move on to quarter 3. If they're not, we will again identify what standards are not being met, and we will post warnings as to, hey, if this continues, here are the management changes we're going to have to make. We'll go into quarter 3, collect data. If it meets the standards, then we move on. If it does not, then we'll have to go and implement those new management policies based on the standards that weren't being met. And this can be a process. We understand that could be complicated in the sense that in quarter 1, indicator 3 may be the only one that's not being met, but in quarter 2 it is, and now indicator 4 isn't being met. So we have to see how this all works out. But one of the things that I've heard a lot from individuals on is the indicator regarding dog waste and indicating, well, is this 20 piece? How do you know if that's going to be waste from dogs on leash? How do you know if that's going to be waste from dogs off leash? That's a great question. As far as we're concerned, dog waste is dog waste. You need to be cleaning up after your dog. I am a dog owner. Rule number 1, you pick up after your dog. So this is a use that comes with responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities is picking up after your dog. And I'm very fortunate to have been having conversations with several individuals in the dog community who have said, look, we know that this is a problem. We know that not everyone cleans up after their dog. We are willing to partner to do dog pickup days where we go out and we do dog waste pickup. And we're very appreciative of that. We think that type of partnership is really how a pilot program like this succeeds and how a ongoing use like this succeeds. So we're going to have to continue to have open lines of communication, make sure we're working together, and see what the data is indicating and figure out how to make sure that we're getting the compliance we need and we're avoiding the impacts to avoid. But all of the information that we collect in each quarter is going to be posted to the department website. We'll certainly make sure that we're sharing that information and that we are being as open, transparent as possible. And again, that data will be, at least for the time being, collected by Parks Natural Resource Management staff. And if we have to change that, we will let you know. And then talked about timeline. So here's the timeline we're looking at. So here in August, we have the public review comment period, and this will close in 1 week. And then we will work with our consultant to respond to all the comments. In September and October, we will go to the Board of Supervisors to present the pilot program recommendations, the ordinance amendments, and the ISM&D for consideration. As an ordinance amendment, it'll have to go to the board for both a first read and a second read. If the board approves all of that, then we'll go to the Planning Commission, hopefully in November, and then that would allow us to commence a pilot program in December. Something that needs to be very clear, though, is because both Pillar Point Bluff and Quarry Park are in the coastal zone, they will require a coastal development permit. So we will go to our Planning Commission for that. Coastal development permits can be appealed to both our Board of Supervisors and the Coastal Commission. Should the coastal development permit be appealed, this process will be extended. This timeline will be extended, and to a degree, we have no control over how quickly it comes back for consideration. And then also, if the coastal development permit is denied, then we will have to make revisions accordingly to get a pilot program back before the necessary entity who denied it. So that's the process. And with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission has.
Anyone?
So I have a couple questions. I guess well, first and foremost, Director Calderon, that great presentation. I started off with maybe like 20 questions. You answered probably most of them in the course of the actual presentation itself. A couple questions that I did have, and it's more additional clarifications. So one, in terms of the proposed pilot program, so enforcement, right? So obviously there are, a couple of things that we want to make sure that, people that bring dogs specifically off leash are going to need to adhere to. But I also saw that there was going to be a lot of just monitoring of the complaints and those kinds of things. What type or sort of enforcement, or what are the things that there will be enforcement of? And I think I had heard, and once again, I just came on the commission kind of post that February or around the time of that last February update. What enforcement, if any, are the Rangers going to be kind of doling out for not being in alignment with some of the rules and regulations? Is it just going to be normal tickets? Is it going to be warnings, or what's going to be the nature of enforcement?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. So what this commission has heard us talk a lot about is education. So first and foremost, we prefer to educate members of the public on what the rules are and why the rules are that way. And we find that by and large, if you can explain to someone what the rules are and why they are that way, usually people will comply. And we've seen pretty good success with that. If individuals are not complying and are refusing to comply and have been warned, Rangers have the discretion to issue citations or infractions, and that comes with a financial penalty. And then we are also going to be asking the Board of Supervisors, as part of the ordinance code amendment, to grant department staff, or Rangers specifically, the ability to remove people from parks. We don't have that right now, but we are asking for that. That is something that we hope we never have to use, right? That's something that we hope we don't ever have to do, and that we simply can have conversations with individuals and explain what the rules are and why. But that is, having that discretion is something that will be helpful. And really what it comes down to is individuals who know what the rules are because we've engaged with them and repeatedly violate it despite that. Those are the individuals who will be getting citations.
Great.
But
thank you.
Commissioner, We put a great focus on education and positive engagement. And we have been very fortunate. I don't think we've actually, since we started the on-leash pilot at both Coyote and Junipero Serra, and since we revised the ordinance, and I'll let Superintendent Lombardi correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I don't believe we've written any citations. I think we've been very fortunate to have compliance through education.
That's correct, Nicholas. From our end, we have had no citations for it. We've had good compliance.
Fantastic. One other question I had, and this is more on the timing kind of post, and I know that the timing has not been set for, more than just, hey, whenever we get everything in alignment, we're going to do the pilot program for 12 months. But kind of post the pilot program, is the thinking that there's going to be, some readout of the evaluation of the pilot program, and then at some point in the future, would it just expand to, the parks that we piloted it on, or is all of that TBD once we get through the pilot program timeframe?
Yeah, Commissioner, great question. So the pilot is for Quarry Park and Pillar Point Bluff, and we're going to run that for 12 months. There's a couple things. There's really, I guess, three scenarios that play out at the end. Scenario one is everything goes great, and we decide that from a management perspective, it's working. From a user perspective, it's working. From an environmental perspective, it's working. And we make the recommendation that we continue to allow that use as an allowed use. Scenario two is we decide we want to extend the pilot program. So I believe we did that for the on-leash pilot. It was originally, I want to say maybe it was originally 6 months, and then we extended it to 12. So there's a chance at the end of this, maybe there's some things we still want to work out, maybe some new management changes we want to try. We extend the pilot. And then scenario three is it doesn't work. We have a lot of issues. We have a lot of problems. And we just are not comfortable making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that we continue that use. And I want to be clear, because I know that there are going to be people who say, so if you find 5 pieces of dog waste, you're just going to say, oh, pilot program done. That's certainly not what that would be a disingenuous effort on the department's end, and that's not what we're about. If we have dogs attacking people, if we have dogs killing wildlife, if we have dogs attacking other dogs, and not, if that's a regular occurrence, then that's a problem, and that's something that we really have to evaluate. A dog goes off trail one time, we're not going to say pilot program done. So I want to be really upfront and clear about that.
Great, thank you for the clarification. And then the last thing is, so the scope is just pillar and quarry. There's no other discussion, and I mean that's the scope of the pilot plus the potential for either allowed use or extension or stopping. Okay.
Yeah, just those 2 parks. Our Sequa review, our analysis does not include any other parks, and at this point in time, we're piloting off leash at Pillar Point and Quarry, and nowhere else in the system.
Got it. Great. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Kello? No?
I have no comments.
Okay. I have a comment. I hate to talk about dog poop all the time. I hate dog poop. I picked up, trash bags full of dog poop on trails, and I don't understand why people don't pick it up. But in terms of 20 incidents a month, that's less than 1 a day in a park that might be 80 acres and have 200 users a day. That's like 99.5% compliance is a failure. So I hope that the monitoring is something that we can use to monitor and use to improve. And of course, we should have 0 pieces. That's the goal through education. But yeah, I think as a society, we're not quite there yet. And I hope that it's not seen as a failure. We have to change people's minds about this whole problem. And yeah, I hope we can work together and with all these issues and monitor, get information, and improve all across the board. So I think the way it's set up, it's meant to do that. I just had the 20 pieces a month seemed like it was going to be hard to meet that goal. Yeah, I mean, even now, before the pilot, I don't think we're there to start. But we should be there.
Yeah, Chair, based on the information we've collected, we're below that based on what our data is showing us. So we are giving ourselves room for
improvement. Yeah, we can improve. We should.
Yeah.
Improve. Yeah.
And Chair Marilee, we're not out to, and I just wanted to clear right, and I'm not saying you're indicating this by any means. We're not out to create a pilot that is destined to fail. That's not what we're trying to do, right? We want to have a pilot where we can expand access and use while protecting the environment, protecting other users, and creating a situation where everyone can enjoy those parks. But in order to do so, obviously, there comes some rules.
Yeah, and I want to be on the record that I don't support people not picking up their poop. So I guess at this point we could go to comment from the public and then come back around to commissioners' comments after that. I think do we have a lot of people in the audience, Janet? Do we have a lot of hands?
Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the moment.
Okay, well, maybe we could stick to 2 minutes then.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
If we don't have 100.
No, it looks like it's climbing. I mean, I think we have like 10 right now.
Okay, well, let's start off with 1. We can come back around if we have a lot of extra time at the end of our meeting, which I don't forecast.
No problem. So we're now opening public comment for item number 7.1. If your hand is raised, your name will be called. If you're calling by phone, please press *9 to raise or unraise your hand. So I will first call on Janet Dudley, followed by Chris Liang. Janet Dudley, please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking, please. Ms. Dudley? Hi, can you hear us?
Yes.
Ms. Dudley, can you hear us? Okay, I'm gonna see no answer, so let's go ahead and go to the next one, which is Chris Liang, and we'll come back to Ms. Dudley. So Mr. Liang, please, or Ms. Liang, please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris, and I live in Moss Beach, very near Fitzgerald Marine Reserve. I spend a lot of time out on Pillar Point Bluff. I really appreciate what Commissioner Manna said about this being a really intense issue. As someone who opposes dogs at Pillar Point, I have to tell you, I'm really hesitant to be commenting right now. I've commented on this issue during Mid-Coast Community Council meetings before and have been accosted by locals that are in favor of off-leash dogs. And it can be a really unsettling and sometimes scary situation. So I am providing comment with a great amount of hesitation. During the on-leash pilot program, I actually witnessed park staff, the name of the staff member is Bonnie, she's no longer with staff, attempting to inform people of the rules in the park, and she was also abused by members of the public. When I've had discussions with Scott, also associated with parks, about enforcing rules, he said that Parks is not going to enforce rules because they don't want to get into negative interactions with the public. I'm going to write a letter that explains a lot of this further, but this is a dangerous situation that's being set up by Parks. They're not going to enforce it. They don't enforce anything. As Nicholas Calderon said, they haven't issued 1 citation in the last year, and there are dogs running off leash at Ross's Cove every day. There's a dog down at Seal Cove every single day, every morning.
Okay, can you wrap up? Chris, do you have anything else?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
thank you. Thanks for your comment. Next call on Linda Goldman. Ms. Goldman, please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Hi, my name is Linda Goldman. I live in Redwood Shores. I've been here for 14 years. I have a family of 4 plus 2 dogs. I wholeheartedly support this pilot program. My family often goes hiking and we have to go to places in the East Bay and even down in Carmel to do that because we want to be with our dogs. So this is great. And we also look forward to being able to stay out in Half Moon Bay and have lunch or dinner after our hikes. I want to just comment quickly about the poop situation. My house actually backs up onto a public trail here in Redwood Shores on the levee. And it does seem like every now and then you see somebody who doesn't pick up. It's just a small minority of people. I really think what we need is better signage and public education that explains why dog poop is bad for the environment. Just having a sign that says pick up after yourself, people don't really understand why it's important to do that. They think, oh, if the dog poops off to the side, it doesn't matter because no one's going to step in it. We need to talk about the environment, why it matters. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. I will next call on, let's try Janet Dudley one more time. Ms. Dudley, please accept the invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Can you hear us? Okay. Okay, no answer. So we're going to go ahead and call on Chris Johnson next. Chris Johnson, please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Johnson. I'm a member of the Dog Pilot Committee. I've been on the dog committee since it started in 2016. I've attended dozens of public meetings and I've witnessed the hard work put in by both members of the county and also the dog committee. We've spent a lot of time on this and it's, in my opinion, one of the most professional, responsible, and considerate committees I've ever been associated with. I hear my friend Chris Lang's comments about people not following the rules, but this is a good project. It can be done right. And this isn't reinventing the wheel here. It's been done in lots of places. I really hope that the commission will approve this. There's standards in place. It's a pilot program. We can make adjustments, but I think this is a good thing for the community, for the people of the community, and for the dogs. So thank you very much for the time. Also, Commissioner Merrilee's 1 minute is not really enough to say anything of substance, but I still appreciate the time. Thank you.
I know.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, let's see. I will next call on Betsy Cafell, followed by Devin Squanglia. Okay. Betsy Cafell, please unmute your microphone and begin speaking. There you go.
Hi, this is Betsy Cafell, and I live in Moss Beach. I've been here for 30 years, and I am in favor of the off-leash program. But I have a concern about when you're monitoring the dog poop, how can you determine between a dog and a coyote? I walk with friends every evening and sometimes during the day on the bluffs, and I encounter a lot of poop, which we clean up diligently. But sometimes I can't tell the difference between dog poop and coyote poop. And so this has me concerned because there are coyotes in both Bluff Top and in Quarry Park. So I'm hoping that through the testing that they can tell the difference, because there's a lot of coyote poop actually on the trail and on the edge of the trails. And also I wanted to concur with Neil on the 20 poops a month. Seems very restrictive, not very realistic, just because of the number of people that are walking on the trails. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Cafell. We'll next call on David Squanglia, followed by Zoom user. So, okay, please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Hi there.
Hey.
My name is Devin Squalia, and I live in El Granada. And I want to for the comment that Mr. Johnson said about you having this being very organized, very professional, I'm in agreement. I've been attending meetings for at least the past several years. Well, yes, within El Granada, I've been down to Redwood City. So, I want to say thank you. And I feel like the committee is hearing the community. I do have some points that I've sent offline, and I believe that several of them have been touched on, but I am in favor of this off-leash program, and I'm excited to see it coming to life eventually, hopefully by the end of the year, if not early next year. So thank you so much.
Thanks for your comment. I will next call on Zoom user. Please state your name for the record. Please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Wide open. Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. This is Chris Tyler. I'm an avid dog lover and dog walker, and we walk on a regular basis up on Pillar Point. And I'm really heartened that preliminary finding of this group is that there is not an appreciable environmental hazard or wildlife hazard. This is all about people behaving in a humane behavior towards our fellow humans, and insisting that our dogs behave. I think owners should be held responsible for bad dog behavior, but dogs do need to be off leash. And I strongly support off leash dog walking, but I also strongly support holding those accountable whose dogs don't behave or who do not pick up after their dog poop, etc. And so, but I'm glad that this ultimately comes down to behaving well towards our fellow man and fellow taxpayer who all support these parks. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll next call on Peter Griffin, followed by Michael Ferreira. So Mr. Griffiths, please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Hello. So I am very pro access for dog users to the county parks. To be clear, the elected supervisors asked the Parks Department to attempt to find more dog access. The reason is obvious. Historically, the San Mateo parks have been anti-dog. That's why we have 11 equestrian trails and only 2 on-leash dog trails, according to the website. The problems I have with the monitoring are the number 1 and 8. The regulars will pick up the poop. So if you monitor on a Wednesday, everything will be fine. You know, Sunday evening after visitors, you don't know what you'll find. But the regulars are not the problem. Otherwise, the trails will be covered in dog poop if regular people weren't taking an extra bag and picking up any extra poops. The second thing is the number 8, more users means more support for the parks. Maybe eventually more support for a bond issue like the East Bay Parks, which is kind of the jewel of the park systems in the Bay Area. I would love to see that. More users is a good thing, not a bad thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will next call on Michael Ferreira, followed by David Emanuel. Please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. There you go.
This is Mike Ferreira, and thank you for giving me the Portuguese pronunciation of my name. I learned it of you. I am speaking tonight as a member of the Executive Committee of the Sierra Club, and we will be formally commenting on this. And I do want to say that I think it lessens the power and effect of your recommendation to be making the recommendation prior to the close of the public comment on the environmental document. Switching over to the my personal side, all too often I'm in the repair shop down next to the parking lot on Airport Boulevard. So I get to see how many off-leash dogs are taken there. It's the majority. They frolic in the wetland where the guys throw balls to them. So we need enforcement reality. Thank you.
Thank you. I will next call on David Emanuel, followed by Fran Pollard. Mr. Emanuel, invitation and begin speaking. Hold on just a moment. Can you hear us?
Yeah, hi, this is David. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, thanks very much. Hey, I live in San Francisco, but I've been very involved in off-leash issues in Marin, San Francisco, and I've been to many of your meetings down there. And you guys have held a very robust and inclusive and very long process. And I think you need to go forward. And anyone coming in at this point that is trying to delay or derail your pilots, I think you need to look at what their motives are and whether they're acting in good faith or not. I want to just caution you to be very careful about some of the thresholds and monitoring, because I think I heard your parks director say that you don't want this to be a setup for failure. So I'd be very careful about a 10-second recall. There are very successful off-leash programs in surrounding counties. No one uses a 10-second recall. If you want to do that, you should test before they get into the park, not after. And I'd be very careful about the number of harassments and the number of dog waits, because that can sort of be manipulated. You know, you want this to be a success. You want this to become permanent. And there's great demand and desire. So thanks very much.
Thank you. I will next call on Fran Pollard, followed by Christine Corwin. Ms. Pollard, please accept this request, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. A minute is not enough. I had 6 points I wanted to talk about. I'm Fran Pollard in El Granada, live across from Quarry Park. I helped create Quarry Park with my group, Midcoast Parklands, 20 years ago. And we managed it for 15 years, oh, it's been 25 years. Anyway, yes, I agree with those that say there's been no monitoring. There's no, when people do things they're not supposed to be doing when the rangers are not around, and there's hardly ever a ranger around Quarry Park all day long. I could have given citations every day. There's always somebody breaking their, bring the dogs in the park, in the tot lot, in the little playground above the tot lot where they're not supposed to be. Signs say, keep out of this area. They don't care. Yesterday, 3 dog walkers came by down the street with 13 dogs, and that I counted, 13 at least. And what are you going to do about them? Are they going to be able to run the dogs off leash? I mean, I don't think I've never seen them pick up anything either. And they took the dogs into the area that says no dogs in this area. So that's just one of the things. So you really need to hire a full-time ranger and somebody that stays at Quarry Park. You have we have so much going on in Quarry Park now that it's just constant all day. They've even started fryers in the pits, and almost at midnight. They come in at night, sneaking in and starting fires. In this dangerous time. I'm telling you, we're very, very worried about this here. So please.
Thank you, Fran. Do we have another speaker, or is that it?
Sorry, I was on mute. Next, we'll have Christine Corwin, followed by Janet Dudley. Ms. Corwin, please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, my name is Christine Corwin, and I'm with Coastside Dog of San Mateo County. We're an all-volunteer nonprofit dedicated to promoting responsible dog walking and advocating for dog-friendly open space. And I've been involved I've served on the County Parks Dog Work Group since 2016. And on behalf of our members, I'm here today to ask that the Parks Commission vote to send the off-leash pilots Sequa environmental review to the Board of Supervisors this fall. This project has been delayed for quite a while. A lot of thought and public input has gone into it. We've had public meetings and a very diligent dog work group with multi-stakeholders. And County Parks has also worked really hard on this, and it's a very thoughtful program. And Coastside Dog's going to do all we can to work with County Parks to make it successful. Our members pick up dog poop, we hold volunteer events, and I'm going to submit my other comments in writing, but that's all a minute will allow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corwin. I will next call on, let's try Ms. Janet Dudley one more time, followed by Brigitte Bauer. Ms. Dudley, please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. There you go. Can you hear us? Ms. Dudley? Okay, no answer. We'll come back. And next we'll call on Brigitte Bauer. Please accept this request, unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, I'm reading this fast. My name is Brigitte Bauer and I have a dog, and I don't know how you can have a dog without access to off-leash exercise. There is a fundamental flaw to the many years.
I hit unmute.
Hello?
Yes, yes, we're listening. Hello?
Janet Dudley has also come on, so we have
Yeah,
two.
let me go ahead and mute. No, she's muted, so go ahead. Ms. Bauer, go ahead.
She's muted.
I just unmuted her. Hold on.
Hello? Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Brigitte Bauer. I live in El Granada and I have a dog, and I don't know how you can have a dog without access to off-leash exercise. There is a fundamental flaw to the many years of discussions on the subject of dogs and off-leash opportunities for exercise. It hasn't helped with any amount of dog experts like dog trainers, veterinarians, and dog rescue people repeatedly testifying as to exercise is the A, B, and C of dog training and physical and mental health. The science of dog recreation should have been noted in the original policy, and this expertise should have been collected as data and given weight just as this environmental analysis. And there are 8,500, more than 8,500 dogs between Montera and Half Moon Bay. And the goal should be to get off-leash parks and not how to sort of get details, insurmountable details, just make the goal go away.
Thank you, Ms. Bauer.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll next call on Janet Dudley. Please unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. Sorry about the difficulties. My name is Janet Dudley and I support off-leash access, the legal reinstatement of off-leash access for dogs at Quarry Park and Pillar Point as soon as humanly possible. The process began in 2016. It's been 5 years. I don't believe it warrants any further delay. Nothing I say here is intended to hold up or delay the commencement. No volunteers. So I am very concerned about the concept of volunteers that Nicholas Calderon, Director Calderon mentioned. And I think that there's virtually no way that volunteers would be unbiased in this process. Secondly, I want to ask, will there be a baseline for the water quality performed at this time prior to the commencement of any pilot programs? Without a baseline, I think anything that you find could be skewed against dogs. And then I think we ought to punish the bad actors and not shut down the parks if there are bad actors. Lastly, I'd like to say parks welcoming to everyone was something that Director Calderon hit on. I would like to say that parks don't welcome everyone today. And I think we really need to expand dog access in our county parks, including Hutter, Wunderlich, and Sam McDonald at some point in the future. But I'm going to start with these two now. And I hope we proceed with all due haste to implement these pilot programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dudley. I will next call on Nicole Scary, followed by Matthew Greenberg. Please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. Ms. Scary.
Hi, my name is Nicole Scary. And I live in El Granada for 23 years and have many dogs. And I've walked up on Pillar Point and also the quarry. And I just want to know, how is the park departments going to, or the state parks going to study the changes in visitations between, if it is a successful pilot for off leash, does that then exclude a lot of people from coming or not? Because it's always been an off leash dog walking for decades for the people on the coast side. So I don't know how they're going to start the data and the study and collect data and to find out what's the true change of visitations between off leash pilot and before the off leash pilot, because we've always been walking there off leash. Thanks.
Thanks for your comment. And then last but not least, I'd like to call on Matthew Greenberg. It's our last speaker for tonight. Please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Hello, am I heard?
Yes.
Hi, my name's Matt Greenberg. I'm a Redwood City resident. I'm a founding member of Peninsula Dog Pack. I strongly support the approval of voice-controlled dog walking at Pillar Point Bluff and Quarry Park. It's important for San Mateo County to start legally allowing voice control dog walking. We have a long way to catch up with our neighboring counties, but this is a vital first step. It's also vital to recognize that both parks have allowed dogs off leash for decades. So there's no reason to believe there will be any changes in environmental impact that's not already happened. Another point, quick comment on indicators and monitoring. As Commissioner Manna noted, we should welcome people to our parks. Under indicator 8, if we find greater percentage of dogs users, it means we need more parks to allow dogs to spread out the users. Not that it's a problem, which is no surprise since over 40% of San Mateo County households have dog family members. Under monitoring, very important point, we want anti-dog people hanging out with their cameras to record verifiable reports, to quote Nicholas, of a violation. That's chaos, and it leads to a really uncomfortable, unenjoyable park experience for everyone. The park rangers do a great job, let them do it. Thank you, I really appreciate all you're doing, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Okay, Chair Marilee, oh, actually one more. So Sabrina Brennan, please accept this invitation, unmute your microphone and begin speaking.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. So I'm following up on a letter that I sent to Nicholas yesterday, and I heard back from him earlier today. I'd like to mention that off-leash dogs on Pillar Point Bluff, which is a segment of the California Coastal Trail, attack and bite people. For this reason, Amy Luthringer, my wife, and I are concerned about recreational displacement caused by elevated risks to public safety. I was attacked by a dog while riding my bike on Pillar Point Bluff on the coastal trail. A pack of off-leash dogs were hunting rabbits, and a pit bull chased me and bit my leg, drawing blood with multiple puncture wounds. It took me over 6 months to recover, and I'm still scared when dogs are off leash and hunting on the Bluff Trail. I had to kick the dog to get away and didn't stop pedaling my bike until I was far away from the dog. At the time, I was bike riding with a neighbor, and he watched what happened. The dogs were up the bluff away from their owner and completely out of her sight. Eventually, the owner got control over 3 of her dogs, but she never apologized, not even after looking at the deep puncture wounds on my thigh. She lives on the east side of Highway 1 in Moss Beach. I reported the incident to the county and nothing was done. Had this happened to a child, they might have needed surgery or worse. There's a lot more I could say about this, but overall, we're very concerned. We also are concerned about off-leash dogs disrupting wildlife and hunting wildlife. So please read my letter. I think this is unsafe, and it is going to cause people who are concerned about being attacked by dogs not to want to use this segment of the coastal trail. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Chair Marilis, that was our last speaker.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for speaking. I know a minute is tight, but I feel like we got the gist of what you wanted to say, each and every one of you. So thank you very much for participating. It was meaningful. So I guess at this point, we should have a discussion and hear from the commissioners. Does somebody want to go first?
Yes, I would. There are a couple of comments that certainly struck me, and the first one was by Michael Ferreira, Sierra Executive Committee member, who made an observation that our commission is being asked to provide a recommendation to the board prior to the end of the negative deck public comment period. So is that something that we can put into consideration so we see what the public comments are, before we recommend, give a specific recommendation to the Board of Supervisors. And the second point, also raised by several speakers, was about in Quarry Park, for historically, people have gone there off-leash with off-leash dogs, from the time it got started. And so having benchmark data in regards to dog waste and dog harassment would be beneficial in informing our whatever decision that we make. If you have that baseline number and we see this extreme dramatic increase, then it will certainly be a cause of concern. And so those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Carlo. Commissioner Laguna or Commissioner Mena?
I can go. I'd like to second the comment about the recommendation prior to the end of the public comment period. Obviously, I've seen some of the public comment, I'm assuming, that's been sent over, but yeah, I haven't seen either the full packet of all of the different letters and other things that have been coming through, nor do I know kind of if the flow has kind of tailed off. But I do think that we should at least be able to see some of the public comment above and beyond what we've just heard right now over the last couple of minutes here.
Commissioner Mena? Are you muted, Sam? Sam is muted.
I get it. This is a heavy issue. This is like a centerpiece around just one massive umbrella. And look, I want to echo, and I want to take this opportunity to recognize a gentleman from Redwood City that is was heading up. He was one of the last gentlemen to speak. I'm not a pet owner. I don't own any dogs, and I've never had, but I do embrace animals. 40% of San Mateo County residents do own dogs. And I know that we have to be complacent. I know we can't let our guards down. And I totally believe in the advocacy of having human being safety within our parks. But also there needs to be some type of think tank of an easier way, a more safer way to where children, toddlers, babies, families, I had a big fear of animals growing up, but there's a way to overcome it. And I personally know Sabrina Brennan, and it's tragic that had to have happened to her, but I'm almost certain that we can find ways for animal safety, for the safety of other dogs, for the safety of families walking with their children, because in these most unprecedented times, and I hope that we don't scale back again and go to shelter in place, but folks have the outside, rather than just being indoors all day, they have their outside game, and that's the outside game is being able to walk with their dog outside the parks or outside the neighborhoods. And I think the park brings sort of that safe haven for people. It is, once again, something that we as either commissioners have to revisit, or I know Chair Maryless, who's an expert on all this, maybe had an umbrella again with commissioners to say, hey, what do we suggest to make this a safe way to avoid attacks, to avoid strays, to avoid loose dogs? How can we make this a better place for our county? Because essentially, and it's more than ever before, that parks are a part of our lives now. And this is a great commission that we have with an excellent director that we have, who's trying to pave the way to make this a safer, smoother, and soother to dog owners.
Okay, is that it, Sam?
I think that's enough. I mean, I didn't want to go in circles, but I mean, it just comes down to what is the most easiest way that we can try to find to make this a safe and not so complicated, subject matter.
Okay, thank you, Sam. Yeah, this. There we go. Yeah, I've been on the dog. I started with the dog committee in 2016 under Marlene Finley and went through 5 parks directors and almost 5 years of public meetings all over San Mateo County, in Belmont, in San Mateo, in South San Francisco, at night, so we could hear from people that can't make it to meetings during the day, that have to work. As inclusive as possible. We've heard from hundreds and hundreds of people in emails and letters, mostly saying they would like a place to take their dog. San Mateo County was an outlier for many years, in that they didn't allow any dogs, unlike any other parks department in California. And we're still an outlier in that we don't have some place to take a dog off leash. We have 17,000 acres of parkland in San Mateo County, and I think we're talking about allowing dogs on 100 acres, Nicholas, and off-leash dogs on less than that. I'm not exactly sure, but it's a very small percentage of the 17,000 acres of our parkland that we allow, that we're talking about allowing dogs off leash. And it's something that people have told us that they want over and over again for 4 or 5 years. Although we have heard from some people, that don't want dogs in San Mateo County parks at all. We've heard that, but the public comment has been overwhelming in all this time. So I think we have 2 ways forward this evening. I suggest that we move this project along to the Board of Supervisors. We don't certify the Sequa neg deck. We don't approve it. We just advise. And because this project has been going on so long, and we've heard from so many people participating in the meeting tonight who have come here, in deference to them, I suggest we pass it on and let the Board of Supervisors review the last 8 days of comments on the Sequa. And I think in a way, what we've been hearing tonight is not necessarily so much comments on the Sequa document, is comments on the policy writ large. And it's kind of a culmination of the 4 or 5 years that we've been doing this, but it's still positive, and I still feel like it would be an action towards more inclusion in San Mateo County parks if we move this issue forward and let the Board of Supervisors approve the Sequa neg deck on their own, but with comment from us that we think this will be a good project to move forward with. The other possibility we have is we could decide to wait till the Sequa document is, the public comment period is over, and we could hold a special meeting to approve a letter to the Board of Supervisors then. But I would propose that we move this along and let the Board of Supervisors certify the Sequa document when it closes in 8 days. And I would move that we do that. That would be my motion, that we send a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to move forward on the pilot project in the Quarry Park and Pillar Point Bluffs after the Sequa public comment period is over. Does anybody want to second that, or do we want to have a different proposal? Anyone?
I do agree with you, Chair Merrilees. This has been a long time since we've been discussing this. And I mean, 4 or 5 years is a very, very long time. So there's certainly a lot of people's time that have been spent grappling with some of the issues that have been brought up, by the 16 speakers that, came forward this afternoon. And so I would be willing to second your motion in that sense, because I think we've really exhausted, everything that we could have possibly done in terms of getting public input on this issue, and let the Planning Commission deal with the neg deck, as it's appropriately their responsibility to do that. But I think I would agree with you that we've done the work necessary for this commission, to recommend to the Board of Supervisors, that we approve, the pilot project. So I will second your motion.
Okay, do we have a roll call?
Chair Merrilees, can I ask for one clarification before this goes up? So is this a vote to approve the parks recommendation, the dog work group recommendation? I know that was another thing that I wasn't sure whether we've all aligned on the Parks Department recommendation or not. Is that what we're?
Yes, this is the Parks Department recommendation.
Could I provide a clarification? I think at the previous meeting, the board, the commission decided that both recommendations by the dog committee and the park recommendation were going to be provided to the Board of Supervisors. And I think from the director's presentation, I think that is still happening.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner and Chair Merrilees, if I could just maybe clarify kind of what's going on. So Commissioner Tello is correct. The matter of which recommendation to our work groups moves forward to the board was decided back in February of 2020. What is before the commission today is to make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors that the Board of Supervisors should certify the initial study and mitigated negative declaration. So that's the matter before the commission today.
And we can vote to certify that before the public comment period, because we don't certify it.
Yeah, Chair Marilees, another point of clarification. Thank you. So the San Mateo County Parks Commission is an advisory entity to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors is the decision-making body that will make a determination regarding the pilot program as a project and make the determination as to whether the Sequa document should be certified or not. That action can't take place until after the end of the public review comment period. The meeting today is about soliciting public feedback, hearing from the public, and making a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors, which most certainly can occur prior to the end of the public review comment period. And this has gone through County Council, and County Council has in fact confirmed that assessment is correct. And I'm not sure if Craig would like to add anything either.
No, Nicholas, I agree that this meeting is essentially part of the public engagement and participation process.
Okay.
And through the chair then, through the chair.
Yes.
And this is to a question to Craig. Typically, isn't it the Planning Commission that certifies the neg deck?
No, Commissioner Makilo, that's not correct. It's the Board of Supervisors.
It is the Board of Supervisors, but it is the Planning Commission's recommendation that they do look at, right? Correct?
I think that will be part of the Planning Commission's analysis on the coastal development permit.
So could I make a clarification on my motion because of that? Could I clarify and say, due to the mountain of public comment that we've received on this issue, and in respect for all the people that have participated today and to this point, we would like to recommend to the Board of Supervisors that they approve the neg deck after the waiting period is over, so that this policy can move forward. How does that sound for a motion?
Is that Commissioner Amelius, were you asking me or are you asking Nicholas, or do you just want an answer from someone?
Does that sound like what we can do, Craig?
Yeah, the way that the recommendation was worded in the agenda was for the commission to make a recommendation of the Board of Supervisors to certify the initial study and mitigated neg declaration. This isn't going to go to the Board of Supervisors until after the comment period has ended.
Okay. Okay.
Because it cannot go to the Board of Supervisors until the comment period has ended.
Okay. Okay, I feel comfortable with that.
Okay, so yeah, with your amended motion, yeah, I would still second it, given the amount of work that this particular commission and the DOC committee has done over the last 4 or 5 years on this particular issue. So I would second your motion.
So Janet, do we get a roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Laguna?
Aye.
Commissioner Okello?
Aye.
Commissioner Mene?
It looks like he's muted.
Commissioner Mene?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Chair Marilees?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And thanks for your input. I know it's been a long slog, and we've got 8 more days, and then we can move forward a little bit more. So thank you very much. So number 2 on our regular agenda is make a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to amend the Parks Department's fee schedule by eliminating group tour reservation fees at Fitzgerald Marine Reserve and adjusting online, telephone, and person reservation service fees to be consistent. Do we want to discuss this? Nicholas, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so the department's going to conduct a comprehensive assessment of its fee schedule this fiscal year. And the goal of that is to identify where our fees need to be adjusted so that we can be both at market rate and consistent with other park agencies in the Bay Area that are comparable to ours. However, we have identified 2 fees that we think should be adjusted before we conduct that assessment. And that includes the group reservation fee at Fitzgerald Marine Reserve and the reservation service fees charged when an individual makes a reservation with the department. So the goal is to remove the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve fee serves as a barrier for some school groups and some groups to be able to access those tours that are offered by the Friends of Fitzgerald. And in light of the county and the department's effort to be more equitable and more accessible, we want to make sure that we're identifying these barriers and removing them when possible. So that's why we're trying to do this. As far as the reservation service fee, right now we charge $10 if you make it over the phone, $7 if you make it online, nothing if you make it in person. It's a very inconsistent process, and it indirectly penalizes individuals who may not have internet access or not be able to come in and make the reservation in person by charging a higher fee for over the phone reservation. So we're just trying to make that consistent.
So what will the fee be?
$7 across the board.
Okay. And you need to charge that?
We do. We're forecasting that our revenue will decrease about $9,500 from these changes as it is. So we do need to charge that and recoup some of our costs.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Two comments. One, why can't this wait till the fee assessment study is done? That's one. Two, we have a member of this commission that is particularly very interested in financial and budget related matters, and she is not present today.
Mm-hmm.
Could we hold off discussing this item until she is present, just out of respect for, the passion she has on issues pertaining to finance and budget? And that's an appeal to the other commission members, not necessarily to the director, but to the director. Is this adjustment necessary? Could it wait for the fee assessment study?
Yeah, Commissioner. Actually, the answer to both your questions is one and the same, which is we are working hard to adjust the fee schedule. We've changed the process for making reservations and who. And how an entity who requests a reservation is selected. And we've changed that process to try and make it a more equitable process. However, changing the reservation process without eliminating the fee doesn't fully accomplish the goal of making the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve and its tours more equitable to access. And so by delaying this until October, what will happen is most of the reservation slots will have filled up at that point because we're going to be opening them shortly here so that school groups can make those reservations. So if we delay this to October, essentially, we're just going to have another year where everyone will be charged the current reservation fee. And that means that the school groups and other groups that we're trying to make sure can benefit from this won't be able to do so until next year.
So this lead me to some other questions. In terms of your data for the past couple of years, your estimation, how many school groups were found this charge as prohibitive and consequently could not reserve the park, the park?
Yeah, Commissioner, thank you for that. Let me, I got to pull that information up. Unfortunately, my email was acting up and I didn't want it to screw up my presentation. So I had to close that. So if you can just give me 1 second, please. So what we have determined is that I apologize. Let me just pull this up here. Here we go. Okay. So over the we've broken it down by over the last 5 years, we've had almost 300 reservations, which is a little over 10,000 individuals. Of that, over about almost 60%, so 50%, 56% were by school groups. But we don't have the data on how many schools look at our website to do to make a reservation and choose not to make a reservation because of the fee, right? So that they don't make it far enough into that process to be able to register, hey, I'd love to, but I can't, we can't pay the fee. So it's unclear as to what that number is.
So just to elaborate on that matter again, how many schools have contacted the department and indicated that the fee were an hindrance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have that specific number.
How much is the fee, Nicholas?
It's 35 for a group of 35. Yeah, 35.
Yeah, so like a school could be, $50.
And to be clear, the challenge is when you do an offsite field trip, there's a lot that goes into it, right? So it's not just the fee you have to pay us. You have to make sure you have transportation, which is a financial cost. And so if we are able to do things like eliminate the reservation fee and then connect, and I should have specified at the beginning, the whole point of this is to make our parks more accessible, our programs more accessible to Title I schools. And so if we can do things like eliminate fees for Title I schools, or eliminate fees so Title I schools don't have to pay those, and then pair those schools up with the San Mateo County Parks Foundation that provides transportation funding, then we can make our programming more accessible. But what we determined was that logistically, it doesn't make sense to charge a fee for some groups and not for other groups. The vetting process is only going to slow the reservation process down. It's going to take more staff time, and by slowing the process down, that in and of itself can turn into a barrier.
So through the chair, it seems as if we can accomplish this goal by doing something different. We know who the Title I schools are. And so every time they make an application to utilize the park, we can make it clear to them that we're willing to give them some consideration. And that is something that a department can do, is sort of, you have like a sliding scale, like most social work or social or entities that provide social services do, and then that is going to give you the data. You'll have the data that says, Title I schools, we had this many reservation requests. You'll have the data to be able to, make a decision on, because right now we don't. We do not know whether $35 has been a hindrance, because, that has not been communicated. We're just making that assumption. I don't know whether I'm making myself clear. Right now we don't have the data to support, the argument, that the fees are prohibitive for certain schools.
You at the end of the year, you'll know, right? If more Title I schools are applying to come to the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, at the end of the year, you'd know. Right, Nicholas?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, was that a question for me or?
Yeah, it's a question for you.
Theoretically, yeah. Yeah, we could certainly put a process in. Again, what we would likely have to do if we want accurate information based on what Commissioner O'Kell is recommending is we would actually have to actively reach out, because if the whole point is to make sure we have the most accurate data possible, then what we need to do is reach out to every Title I school and say,
Right.
have you attempted or desired to make a reservation at the Fitzgerald Marine Reserve? However, because there's a fee, you did not pursue it. And that is likely not something that there's a fair amount of Title I schools. And then in addition to each Title I school, you have to reach out to each individual teacher for a classroom. So this is certainly more than picking up the phone and making a couple calls. And I'm not quite sure we would have the resources to do that type of cold calling right now.
Through the chair, I would not suggest any, cold calling like that, but I think, doing a survey, I think could be quite appropriate. And I think the survey will be general. It will not even it doesn't even have to mention the fee. It just has to say that have you attempted to reserve this park in the last year, and keep the question open as to what has hindered them from applying without directing them to the fees. Because if you put fees there, they'll say fees, obviously, because you're sort of directing them in a certain way, but we need to know the reason. It may be, I do not know, the distance that they would have to travel. And you're right, the cost of the buses and so on and so forth. And so reducing the fees may not achieve the goal that we want to achieve. If they're not making reservations, is due to some other factor.
Chair Merrill, could I ask a question of
Yeah,
Director Calderon?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I guess one question that I had was, well, first of all, this fee is only being charged at Fitzgerald Marine Reserve. That's the only place within the whole park system that this is being charged for groups, or is this more than just Fitzgerald?
Yeah, Commissioner Laguna, great question. We tours at FMR are the only programming that we charge fees for. So if you and that's through and the leaders of those groups of those tours is the Fitzgerald Friends of Fitzgerald Marine Reserve. For example, though, if you were to go on a wildflower hike at Edgewood with the Friends of Edgewood, you're not paying a fee, no matter who. You just don't charge a fee. If you were to go to do programming with the Friends of Huddard and Wonderlick, you're not paying a fee.
Sanchez Adobe, Woodside Store, nothing, right?
Sanchez Adobe is managed by the San Mateo County Historical Association, so that's different. But if you were to go to take a hike with Catherine Wright, you're not paying a fee. If you went to our movie in the park last weekend, you're not paying a fee. So yeah, that's a great point, which is this is the only place we're charging a fee for this.
Okay, and then one follow-up. So why was the fee established? I mean, I read on your write-up that it said about like minimizing the impact on the wildlife. So do we know why we originally started charging in the first place?
Yeah, I believe, as it's been explained, it far predates me.
Yeah.
It's tied to recommendations made in the master plan.
Okay. So it seems like if we're trying to move more broadly, and now I'm talking about the broader reservation charges, right, which I don't think we've addressed yet, or maybe we have. That is all about trying to get to a simpler fee structure, right? But that recommendation still is TBD. But in Fitzgerald Marine Reserve, it just feels like it's a little bit of a one-off. Now, as part of kind of the revision of those overall fee structures, I mean, is there a possibility that we would begin to charge for all of the large groups, or is that not even on the table?
The department and the county as a whole is going in the opposite direction.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
And you're trying to become more inclusive. That's what you're trying to do. You're not just going to fill up the parks with buses, but you're trying to get kids that couldn't otherwise get to natural location, the experience of being in nature.
Yeah, Commissioner, you'll recall when we eliminated the vehicle entrance fee at Flood Park, right? One of the things we have heard through our visitor use, non-use survey that was done about 5 years ago, and that we'll be asking about in an upcoming survey we release for the general public, is to understand the barriers. But what we've heard in the past is that fees are barriers. Fees are barriers to access. And so individuals, school groups will choose to go where there is no fee over where there is. And given that FMR was established to be an educational resource, making sure that it can serve as an educational resource is extremely important.
I think this might be a good idea to try. You know, you can always start charging fees if it doesn't work, or if the county is strapped for money. I don't think the county's really strapped for money that $35 means that much right now. And if it gets one more group in to a place like Fitzgerald Marine Reserve that wouldn't ordinarily go, that might be worth it. Do you have
I think through the chair, I think the most compelling argument that I think the director has given to the commission is that, you know, that are similar activities in other parks, you know, there are really no fees. And so, you know, even from just the perspective of just standardizing a practice, I think, you know, that would be a compelling argument. But hopefully we can still do that survey so that, you know, if the reservation double up, you know, to 600 reservations over a certain period, and then no Title I schools in that 600, then we still have the problem. And so we're gonna have to figure out how to grapple with that.
And Commissioner, just to be clear, the process we've set up for allocating reservations has been established to give priority to Title I schools, so that does not happen.
Great. Okay, do we have anybody that wants to make a motion on this item? Or Sam, did Sam say anything? Did Sam want to talk about this? No.
Then
At least you need to take public comment.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay, here we go.
Commissioner Mane
I thought we had him.
I thought we had him too. There he is.
Oh, yeah. No.
He needs to unmute. There you go.
Okay, I'm no physician. I'm not an epidemic specialist, and you know, we have what, October into December, and who knows if a shelter in place is even going to be discussed behind closed doors with all these agencies and counties. But I know we haven't met in nearly 2 years, and I don't know. And maybe I can ask this to Director Calderon, Nicholas. Is even an offsite with a small group of people? You know, I've been fully vaccinated, and I guess that doesn't make a difference anymore
through
now.
the chair, I think the commissioner is talking about another item on the agenda.
Yeah,
Oh.
we're talking about eliminating tour group fees at Fitzgerald.
Oh, okay. I thought we were having like a good of the order. You know what? If we want to get more people to come and frequent the park, then, you know, I'm all for elimination.
Okay. Do we have anybody that wants to speak, Janet?
See, I do not see any hands raised at the moment, but let's give it a couple of seconds and see if folks queue up. Nope, nobody, Chair Marlies.
Okay. Great. Then does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll so move that we accept the director's recommendations.
Do we have a second?
Second. I'll second the motion.
Okay, roll call.
Commissioner Laguna,
Aye.
Commissioner Okello,
Aye.
Commissioner Mane,
Yes.
Chair Marlies.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Right on. Okay, next issue. Commissioner reports. Does anybody have a report? I just want to tell everybody how late we are.
We are late, and
Commissioner,
I've exceeded the
one other
time.
item. Commissioner Mearley, I think you skipped an item 7.3.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what Tim was talking about. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Who wants to? When are we going to be able to meet in person again? And do we need to? I mean, is this working okay?
Through the chair, I think this is working absolutely fine. And I think we should definitely continue it indefinitely, because I think it's sometimes if you're traveling from San Jose to try to make a 4 o'clock meeting, you got to leave a little early, and then and sometimes there's no guarantee you're going to make it there at 4, and having it online, you can still be in San Jose and participate in the meeting and save 1 hour of travel. And so I would strongly suggest that, we continue with this Zoom webinars.
I really miss meeting in public, but I do enjoy the convenience of this. And it's nice that we can get lots of people to interact online without having to go and find a parking place and all that. And because the whatever's happening with COVID and shelter in place coming up in the next month or two, I don't think we ought to plan. I mean, I guess that would be my suggestion, that we don't plan for at least the next meeting or two in person, because we might have to cancel. What does the county think?
So that's kind of a hard question to answer. So we have started to implement new restrictions, as you undoubtedly have heard. So now when you're inside county operated buildings, you need to wear masks, and the Bay Area health officials have started to re-implement mask mandates. At this point in time, my understanding that virtual meetings as allowed by the Brown Act will continue either into September or through September. And so I think much of it will rely on what the governor decides to do with regards to the suspension of the Brown Act.
Okay.
But I think it'll be important for us to have a sense as to where the commission would like to go as we approach that direction, given that October would be after that September timeframe. And so we just need to better understand where the commission stands. One thing we can also do is, I think there's some flexibility as to how we schedule and coordinate meetings. So just having a sense where the commission is on this, though, would be helpful for us.
Jorge, Commissioner Laguna, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this has been working relatively fine, but obviously when it's safe, I would love, in a perfect world, I would love to have maybe even just a hybrid model. And I don't know if it's a situation where the county is going to be doing this for other boards and commissions, but I would be happy with having the flexibility of having the Zoom call or whatever we end up using, and at the same time having the option to have an in-person meeting once it's safe. But I don't see any kind of issues or problems with kind of the way that we've been operating. I think we've been able to be relatively effective. Granted, I would love to kind of see all in person and be able to meet on occasion, but yeah, I think obviously I want to follow kind of the health guidelines and everything else, but I'd be open to meeting in person or having a hybrid where we meet in person but also have a Zoom meeting so that other folks can contribute even if they're not able to make it.
I think that's a great idea. Sam, did you want to say anything?
Well, he just kind of echo. I didn't say he stole my thunder, but you know, I'm not an epidemic specialist. I am no internal medicine or, you know, I have family that works with the Department of Public Health in San Francisco, but you know, I can't make that decision, and I don't know as far as Director Calderon, he would probably be waiting from the county public health director, from the state, from you know the you know the health officials. I like what the commissioner just said in regards to trying to meet, but you know October is you know 2 months away, and December, and you know who knows if shelter in place is ever going to go back, and depending how bad the Delta variant is going to get. So I would love to have an offsite event. You know, I've been vaccinated since January, but I mean, you know, who knows if we are going to do a third shot that's, you know, being studied. But, you know, I miss the sort of embracing, receptive, you know, the captain's house and the, you know, Redwood City, you know, chambers and you know that it's going on 2 years. So I mean, how likely, Director Calderon, is a powwow? You know, how likely is a kumbaya at you know an offsite location? Probably very low. Probably very low.
Yeah, you know, I will tell you, I miss in-person meetings and in-person events. I love seeing people in person. It's just a different dynamic. With that said, safety has to come first, and what I'm seeing right now would lead me to recommend a delay, and that's certainly the mentality I'm taking with staff. Is that at the end of the day, safety needs to come first, and I'm happy to delay meetings as long as necessary to make sure that we can all stay safe and meet again at the end of this.
Great. Okay. Well, this is a discussion issue. It's not a, we're not voting on anything here, right? So I think we've discussed it. Unless anybody has anything else to add. Anybody? If public, is there any public that wants to speak on this issue?
Let's take a look. Right now, there are no hands raised, so let's give it a second to see if folks queue up.
Okay.
So this is for agenda item 7.3.
Meetings in person.
Yeah. There aren't any hands, Chair.
Okay. Okay, well, good. I guess thanks everybody for their input. We'll keep this in mind. I love the captain's house, but this has been working okay too. And as long as this works for the public and for the staff and to keep everybody safe, then let's keep doing it until something changes. Hopefully something will change. Okay, and now we're on to commissioners' reports. Does anybody have anything they want to say about something that's happened between something that they've run into? Any issues? No? Okay, good. Items for future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they want to add?
Yes, I do. Through the chair, I would like the commission to consider possibility of having monthly meetings. So I'd like to have that, and that would obviously entail, you know, the amendment of the ordinance that established us. And so, but I think the first step is to have it.
Okay. That's something we can put on the agenda, and maybe, I don't know. We have to find out if we have the authority to do that. You know, we don't have the authority to spend money, and that would cost money. I think we could do it. Maybe if, like right now, if we have something important to talk about that we can't get to, we'll have a special meeting. And we can have, you know, committee meetings. But if we wanted to have a regularly scheduled meeting, then before we put it on the agenda, maybe we should check with the Board of Supervisors and see if that's something that they would support.
I think through the chair, I think we're an advisory committee. We're an advisory committee to the board.
Mhm.
So we can advise them that after some discussion, we've decided that we'd like to meet more frequently than we're currently meeting.
That's true. You're right.
And then I propose the amendment of the ordinance or the resolution that established us, and I'm sure they would listen.
Okay. Okay, let's put that on in the future. Maybe for our upcoming meeting. Does anybody have anything else? I think the thing that Jim Sullivan mentioned about naming a trail after our in the language of our previous residents, I thought was very interesting. And if we have naming opportunities that come up in the Parks Commission in the future, I think that would be an interesting thing to follow. To think about the Ramatu Shaloni, and if there are any names, to kind of bring back that historical land stewardship into the public parks, I think might be cool. So I would like to have a discussion on that. I don't know if it would be the next meeting or in the future, but I think that item by Jim Sullivan was very interesting, and I plan on going to that opening.
Yeah, through the chair, you're talking about comments by members of the public. Mr. Snow talked about the former site of the Flood Park Elementary School. So is there a way we could add that on the agenda to just get some clarification and some information? I thought that piece of property was owned by the Ravenswood City School District and not the City of Menlo Park. And so, just providing additional information in that sense may be helpful.
That's exactly right. That might be an interesting opportunity that we could look into. Anybody else?
This is more of a question, but were there any follow-ups on the whole budget and budget process? I know last time it got a little hot, and I know, there was some talk about kind of getting more information, and I know there was a
We lost you.
We lost you for a second.
We lost you for a second there.
He's unmuted, so let's see.
Commissioner Laguna, Bluetooth issue? Running out of power here.
I'm sorry.
Commissioner Mane, could you get off? Could you get off video? Because the images you're showing are disorienting.
We're starting to get dizzy.
Yeah, we're starting to get dizzy, right?
Commissioner Laguna, are you back into audio? Do we have your audio now? We missed a little bit of your. No. Okay, so yeah, a discussion about the budget and
the protocols of commission interaction. So I think that was the gist of his comment. So
okay,
as we could just add that. And I do have to leave at.
I do have to leave also at this time. Everybody just stay safe, and hope to see you guys in person, when it's safe.
Yeah, thank you. I think, why don't we adjourn? Yeah, we're gonna adjourn now. So yeah, thanks everybody for showing up. That was a big meeting, a lot of participation, and I think we're moving forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, everyone.
thanks.
Right.